Oh my god, it's King Plush. Dude, I love it. I saw somebody speculate this would be the name on Reddit. So well done, random stranger. This is so cute and awesome. King Plush here for Hunter is a new legendary. He's a 9-mana 6/6 beast with charge, of course, because he's King Plush. And this crazy battle cry: return all minions with less attack than this to their owner's decks. So not only is King Plush here a threat as a 6/6 charging minion, he's also sometimes a crazy board clear, because if your opponent has a board full of 5/5s, King Plush is going to send them all back to deck, which, you know, you might say, oh, well, they're getting to keep the cards, Regis. They're going to be so excited to have all those resources. But as we know, of course, things being added to deck is rarely ever actually a meaningful upside, and in many cases can actually be a downside. You can shuffle like a bunch of garbage tokens into the opponent's deck, and then they're drawing these like dead draws basically instead of good meaningful cards. But also games just tend to end fast enough that extra value they're generating by having it in their deck, it never really comes to fruition, right? Because they're not going to draw down to the bottom of their deck in most games anyway. And if you're hitting them in the face for a ton of damage, you know, you're a hunter, you're trying to end the game, you're trying to get some lethality, so you're not as worried about those coming back to bite you anytime soon, or really at all. And if they do, they gotta spend more mana on them anyway. So in other words, Psychic Scream's a good card. That's a really long way for me to say Psychic Scream was a great board clear, and King Plush is basically a conditional Psychic Scream. And the crazy thing is too, right, we've seen actually a lot of buff and hand buff stuff in Hunter that can make King Plush even bigger. In this case, it would have to be hand buff specifically, because this is a battle cry, not an on attack ability. But with various ways to buff beasts in deck and hand, you know, this might easily be an 8/8, 10/10, even bigger, which number one makes it even more threatening as a punch to the face, but also ensures that even bigger boards are still going to be dealt with. You know, if you get it up to 10/10, you're still going to be able to take out your opponent's 8/8s or 9/9s or whatever with this battle cry, which I think this is great, because sometimes, right, what happens with charge minions is like if it's not lethal, it feels really scary to play it, because you don't want to go all in on this kind of inefficient play. It's like, yeah, I'd like to get some damage. I'd like to set up that damage for, you know, next turn lethal or whatever, but it's risky, because number one, I can't address my opponent's board, and, you know, just 6 now doesn't matter if I'm just kind of passively sitting on this minion that doesn't otherwise do much. But with King Plush, that's not a problem, right? You're clearing any taunts that are in your way. You're wiping out most opponents' board states, so they don't have that counter pressure, counter lethal potential if they're a board-based deck. So it's just like, I get this 6 chip damage, I get to go, I get to do my thing, and I'm still not at risk necessarily, right? I still get to, you know, make this advancement, this push, without compromising, you know, next turn or down the road. There is also technically some upside on this battle cry as well. If you have your own minions you wanted to, for some reason, return to your deck, this is a symmetrical effect. So there could be stuff you put in your deck for whatever reason. That seems less likely to be a relevant kind of play, but still a possibility. So in other words, I think this card looks great. Pressure and damage, which hunters love. Cool hand buff synergies, which is nice. We got big beast synergies, which Hunter has done well with in the recent past. I'm not sure how that's going to look after rotation, but always something to keep in mind, you know, cheating out big stuff. Reno decks, it feels good as both a board clear and a late game, you know, damage push. So there's a lot, I think, to like about King Plush here, which is pretty crazy. You know, if you just compare him to like King Crush, for instance, he's only losing 2/2 in stats, but he has this enormous upside on the battle cry, which is obviously going to be worth it most of the time for those 2/2 in stats. So this card just looks very strong as far as I'm concerned. King Plush is a 5-star card. Yeah, I think this one's going to be really good. I mean, it is expensive, right? But we've seen Hunter really for the last 2 years be able to successfully run big cards like this. And I mean, that could change, obviously, you know, it's a little bit, you know, depending on support cards and stuff. But with Reno in the mix especially, that already feels like a home for this. And I suspect there will still be plenty of ways to cheat big beasts into play, or just play this for 9. Still actually feels good thanks to this battle cry. So I think it'll get there. I think this card actually looks kind of nuts, really swingy when it connects. So that said, curious if you agree. Do you think this is going to be amazing or king bust instead of king plush? Share those thoughts below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, game on.